Chapter 541, Side Story, Yuna's True Power. It is the time directly after Yuna's fight with Naruto that ends in her seducing Hinata to mellow her out. Chapter 348, Pushing the Blame no Jutsu. Moments after Yuna, Hinata, Anko, and Karen left the training field, they arrived at the bedroom door after quite some time due to already starting making out on the way there. As soon as the door closed, things became steamier as the four women started undressing each other. This would have undoubtedly ended in another intense night filled with moans of pleasure if it weren't for Anko saying something she shouldn't have said. Now that Yuna is exhausted from her fight against Naruto, we might actually be able to defeat her in bed. The air solidified. Anko immediately realized that she might have just said something she shouldn't have said as cold sweat started flowing down her back. You actually think you can defeat me in the bedroom? Why Yuna, let's not go too far. A twisted grin appeared on Yuna's face as she slowly lifted up her hands, causing thousands of minuscule seals to glow on the skin of her hands, causing even Karen a headache. Very well, I'll show you what I'm truly capable of. As she said that, the seals started glowing even more intensely, and moments later. Shatter. The sound of glass shattering echoed through the room as cracks began appearing in the complex sealing arrangement on Yuna's hands, and shortly after, all the seals were gone. Just now. At first, Hinata, Anko, and Karen thought that Yuna messed up somehow, but considering the heavy atmosphere, they somewhat doubted that. Yuna raised her hands like a surgeon who had just disinfected them and wiggled her 10 fingers once. Hinata, Anko, and Karen suddenly moaned in pleasure as their legs started wobbling due to feeling overwhelming pleasure. I removed the seal on my hands that helped me contain their true power. What was that? Yuna didn't answer them and started moving towards them with slow steps, making them back away. Why Yuna, calm down. Why that was just a slip of the tongue by me. I think my mind will finally break today. However, Yuna didn't listen to them in the slightest as she suddenly stopped moving. Divine sex arts. A tingle went through the trio's spines as their bodies suddenly became aroused beyond comprehension, and their panties were soaked instantly. First form. The trio considered simply running away, but before they could do so, Yuna vanished from her position and instantly appeared behind them. Somehow, all of her clothes were gone now, and the only thing she was still wearing were 2 pairs of panties on her head. Hinata and Anko's panties. She would have gotten Karen's as well, but she wasn't wearing any. One touch sends you to heaven. Silence reigned in the room. Moments later, Hinata, Anko, and Karen collapsed as their whole bodies started shaking like crazy. They were squirting their juices on the ground with their tongues sticking out and their ears rolled upwards while one massive orgasm rocked their bodies. After around a minute, Hinata and Anko passed out, while Karen lasted another 30 seconds, defeated in one move. Meanwhile, Yuna unequipped the panties and wrapped them around her upper arm. Happy to serve. What the hell was that? Well, let's just say that after a certain level of cultivation, simply having sex is no longer enough to deplete someone's stamina, so people came up with some special techniques. It was you, wasn't it? I have no idea what you are talking about. Sure, I believe you. Wait, you do? Sarcasm. Right, I totally knew that. Back to the present. It was the middle of the night, and a cloth-covered person was stalking through the darkness of the night. As the shadow was silently moving over Konoha's rooftops, it quietly entered the Uchiha compound and located its target, a young man sleeping on a bed with a pink-haired woman clinging to his back. Target found. Mission start. Why didn't you just teleport to him? Hush, you're destroying the good atmosphere. Moments later, Sasuke found himself standing on a stage surrounded by a massive crowd of people. At first, he was a little confused about what was going on, but seeing everyone looking at him in admiration, he understood the situation. What am I daydreaming about? This is my big day. Finally, I've finally become the Hokage. Sasuke lifted his hand and waved to the crowd, immediately getting a booming response. Hokage-sama. So cool. Sasuke Uchiha-sama. Uchiha-sama. Sasuke's pride swelled as the crowd started chanting the name of his clan. Are you seeing this, Inai-san? Glory has returned to the Uchiha clan. He looked skyward and somehow saw the vague form of his brother's face smiling at him proudly. Inai-san. Suddenly, Sasuke abruptly opened his eyes and found himself inside his bedroom, getting hugged by Sakura. Why am I the little spoon? These thoughts idly passed through his mind as he registered what had just happened. A dream, huh? While Sasuke was thinking about his dream, Sakura stirred in bed and slowly got up as well. What's wrong, Sasuke? You can't sleep. Sasuke shook his head, and after giving it some more thought, he started speaking. I think I'm going to aim for the Hokage position. Although Sakura was surprised by the sudden declaration, she decided to simply support Sasuke in his desire. She wasn't happy that Tsunade wanted to push the position on Sasuke one-sidedly, but since Sasuke had the same desire now, she no longer minded. Meanwhile, a shadow left the Uchiha compound, its purple eyes shining through the night, displaying nothing but mischief. Easiest S-rank mission ever. Meanwhile, deep inside the Uzumaki compound, Naruto explosively shot up from his bed. I'm going to be Hokage, you know. Ino and Haku woke up from Naruto's yell and looked at him in irritation. Naruto, why are you screaming in the middle of the night? Yeah, and since when did you have any interest in becoming the Hokage? Question marks popped up above Naruto's head as he had no idea where that sudden outburst came from. He plopped back down between Ino and Haku and gave both of them a little kiss. Sorry about waking you up, I must have had a weird dream or something like that. Although they were still a little annoyed, they decided just to drop the topic and go back to sleep. Meanwhile, Naruto blankly looked at the ceiling and pondered what had just happened. Do I really want to become the Hokage? The image of Hiruzen barely being visible behind mountains of paperwork briefly flashed through Naruto's head, causing a shiver to go down his spine. Not in a million years. I agree. I would rather not witness you going through mountains of paperwork every day. So, with his beliefs confirmed, Naruto also went back to sleep. Chapter 542, Side Story, Getting Some Toys. Currently, Hisoka was walking through the streets of Konoha with an excellent mood and a slight skip in her steps. There were two reasons for her good mood, one obviously being the end of the war. However, she barely cared about that and was much more excited about the other reason: she would probably lose her V-card today. As Hisoka thought about that, her steps froze for a short moment. Wait a moment. Does it even count as losing my V-card if two girls are doing it? She pondered that question for a brief moment before simply shrugging her shoulders in indifference. Oh well, let's just say it does. As she walked, she continued thinking about what might or might not happen tonight. Tayuya had invited her to a sleepover, so Hisoka's expectations were quite high. Considering my past life, I have lived much longer than Tayuya, so I'll be the one to guide her through everything patiently. I'll be taking the lead. Although this is my first time as well, I have at least seen the act before. After furiously *** occasionally and randomly catching a glimpse of a sex scene in a movie, I'm at least better prepared than Tayuya. At least a little. While walking, Hisoka went past a certain unassuming shop that simply had "Night Toys Adults Only" written above its entrance, causing her to blush a little as she remembered visiting this shop not too long ago to acquire a particular phallic object to spice up her nightlife a little. Now that I think about it, should I take that toy out when I'm doing it with Tayuya? Hisoka continued thinking a little longer before shaking her head with a wry smile on her face. She'll probably think I'm a weirdo for taking sex toys out during our first night together. Moments later, Hisoka rounded another corner and was no longer visible from the shop's entrance. If she had taken a peek inside, she certainly would have been surprised by what she found. Holy hell, this thing is massive. Does that really fit inside a human? A young woman with red hair was staring at an arm-sized dildo in fascination, causing the woman standing next to her to chuckle in amusement. You shouldn't forget that women can give birth to children. If a baby's head fits, then this thing is possible as well, Tayuya. Tayuya nodded her head, a little embarrassed that she didn't come to that conclusion by herself. Despite that, she put the massive dildo down and looked for something different. She wanted to have fun with Hisoka, not split her in half. Any advice on what I should get, Yuna-sama? This is all completely new to me. That's what I'm here for. Don't worry, we will get you everything you'll need to spice up your first night with Hisoka. Oh, and by the way, you don't have to call me respectfully if you aren't working. Tayuya could only shake her head when she heard Yuna's last sentence. She was fully aware of that, but she felt that she would slip up during work if she suddenly started talking casually to Yuna. I respectfully decline, Yuna-sama. Yuna simply shrugged her shoulders as she picked up one of the toys presented in front of her and put some chakra into it, causing it to vibrate. First of all, let's talk about Hisoka a little. Since she has experience from her previous life, she thinks she is the dominant part of your relationship, which is complete nonsense. I suggest that you allow her to take the lead at the start and then slowly take over. Tayuya nodded her head as she eagerly absorbed everything Yuna told her. As for Hisoka's previous life, she had told her about it, but she didn't care about that. As for toys, I would definitely buy a few lighter things. I recommend small vibrators, a small to medium-sized dildo or two, and something double-sided you can enjoy together. Oh, and you should definitely buy something you can wear, so you can pound your hips into Hisoka while pressing her down from behind. That should cement your dominant role rather quickly. Tayuya couldn't help but drool a little when she imagined herself furiously pounding away at Hisoka while she's constantly moaning in pleasure. Hey, how about something like this? While Yuna and Tayuya were chatting, Anko approached them, holding a small handle with multiple leather strips attached to one hand. Didn't you hear what Yuna-sama said? I'll start slow, why would I suddenly start whipping her? That's way too heave. Before Tayuya could finish speaking, a grin appeared on Anko's face as she slapped the small leather strips on Tayuya's bare arm, causing a loud sound. OW, hey, that it didn't hurt as much as I thought. Yuna chuckled in amusement as she took the whip from Anko and slapped it on the palm of her hand a few times. Although the sounds it makes are intimidating, whips like this don't deal much damage. Anyway, I wouldn't take out spanking instruments during your first night. Give her a few slaps with your hand when the mood is right and see how she reacts to it. Tayuya eagerly nodded her head as she picked up a piece of underwear that had a dildo sewn into it from both sides. She injected some chakra into it, causing both of the dildos to vibrate while her eyes shone with interest. Oh yeah, I'm totally getting this one. Yuna chuckled in amusement as she allowed her gaze to wander through the shop, immediately spotting Karen, who was currently holding a dog leash and a butt plug with a dog tail attached to it. She had a sloppy smile on her face as a bit of drool was slowly flowing out of her mouth. Pet play, huh? Oh well, since I'm already here, I might as well buy a few things for my Haring Tilda. Chapter 543, Side Story, The New Hokage. A few more months passed since Sasuke set his goal, and today was the day when he would finally reach it. He stood on top of the Hokage Tower in the usual Hokage outfit with the symbol 4-6 awkwardly stitched over the character 4-5. Apparently, the seamstress was rather old and insisted on sewing the robe herself due to her always doing it since the first Hokage. In conclusion, the cloak wasn't done yet. On Sasuke's right side stood Tsunade. Her pupils were slightly unfocused and she occasionally swayed left and right while having a small hiccup. Although no one knew why she was doing it, she occasionally covered her mouth with her sleeve, which was usually followed by the almost silent sound of someone drinking from a straw and the sound of swallowing something. Additionally, she would occasionally glance at Sasuke in mockery, which he hadn't noticed yet. On Sasuke's other side stood an old man in flip-flops, shorts, and a half-open shirt. He was currently reading a book while occasionally chuckling in a perverted manner. Sasuke waved to the crowd, immediately garnering lots of cheers and applause. However, the people cheering him on were primarily civilians and low-ranked shinobi. Those in higher positions could only look at Sasuke in disbelief. Is he a masochist? Probably. Why else would he willingly become Hokage while Unisama is present? Maybe he has a fetish for paperwork. Oh, that makes sense. Luckily, Sasuke couldn't hear them, or he might have developed some doubts about these matters. Good old Uchiha clan, always ready to get manipulated. Anyway, the ceremony commenced. Sasuke held a boring speech mainly centered on the glory of the Uchiha clan or whatever. Tsunade managed to put the Hokage hat on Sasuke's head without falling over. While placing the hat on Sasuke, Tsunade breathed him in the face, almost causing him to get drunk from the breath's alcohol smell alone. Hiruzen read his book. All in all, it was the usual. **** Congratulations on becoming Hokage, 6 donor. Sensei, shouldn't you say a few words as well? Sasuke's chest swelled with pride due to Tsunade's congratulations, but that feeling vanished rather quickly when she called the unknown old man next to him, Sensei. That's the 3rd Hokage. He's still alive. Anyway, when Hiruzen heard Tsunade call him, he looked up from his book and looked around in confusion. Where the hell am I? Wasn't I reading at home? Why am I here? He watched his surroundings and quickly noticed Sasuke's new Hokage cloak. Oh? Tsunade managed to con someone into the Hokage position. As expected of her. Or maybe she's blackmailing him. Oh well, who cares? A grandfatherly smile appeared on Hiruzen's face as he patted Sasuke's shoulder. You can do it. Hold your head high and embrace it. It cannot be fought. Oh, and good luck. Question marks appeared above Sasuke's head while Tsunade nodded in agreement and Hiruzen returned to reading his book. Somehow, I'm getting a bad feeling. Did I miss something? * 1 month later *. Yeah, I definitely missed something. These were Sasuke's thoughts as he finished another stack of paperwork while his secretary delivered another 2. Damn it, what's with all this shitty paperwork? A small chuckle echoed from one of the 2 couches in the room. This one was surrounded by stacks of books with rather questionable content. Ma, it's not so bad. Try doing this shit while your whole council is corrupt and stacks their work on you as well. Goo hey, this one is of my favorite scenes. Sasuke ignored the perverted old man as he paled a little due to thinking about having even more work to do. If he had to go through that, he probably would have burned everything down by now. The sound of someone taking big gulps from a bottle echoed through the room, followed by a satisfied "Pa." Oh yeah, I remember those times. Say what you want about Yuna, but she is pretty good at keeping corrupt politicians and merchants at bay. ***. Sasuke's eyebrows twitched in irritation at the other couch that had mysteriously appeared inside the Hokage office one day. Its surroundings were littered with empty glass bottles, and Sasuke was pretty sure that if a civilian came too close to that couch, they would die of alcohol poisoning. Why are you 2 always hanging around this room? Sasuke couldn't help but get irritated by the constant chattering of the 2 old cage. Hearing Sasuke's words, Tsunade shakily got up from her couch and walked towards the door while lightly hitting her hip. Fine. I just wanted to support my successor a little, but if you are like that, I guess I'll go do my own stuff. I have to get quite a bit of gambling done. So much to do and so little time. Needless to say, Sasuke almost exploded in anger due to Tsunade's carefree attitude as another perverted chuckle echoed through the room. Oh yeah, I love this scene. Asterisk another 2 months later asterisk. Hee hee, ha ha ha, ha 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 ha. Crazy laughter rang through the Hokage's office as Sasuke stood up from his seat and smacked his palm on his desk, leaving deep dents. Following his laughter, the sound of someone turning a book page while giggling and someone burping loudly echoed through the office, but Sasuke ignored that. I got it. I finally know what to do. Another mad outburst, but this one at least managed to get the attention of one of the other people as Tsunade looked at Sasuke with curiosity. I finally know how to defeat all this paperwork. This outburst even managed to get Hiruzen's attention as he looked at Sasuke with interest. After all, even after delegating a lot of work, there was still a massive amount of paperwork to be done. During Hiruzen's turn, it was physically impossible to do all of it due to the rampant corruption going on. Currently, it was at least doable, but that didn't mean it was fun, so Hiruzen got rather curious about what Sasuke was planning. However, Hiruzen and Tsunade's facial expressions quickly changed when Sasuke's black eyes turned crimson. Ha ha ha, there is only one thing that can defeat all this paperwork. It's the Uchiha clan's invincible Sharingan. Hiruzen and Tsunade glanced at each other for a second before simply shrugging their shoulders. They were just retired old people, so why would they intervene? So, without a moment of hesitation, Hiruzen vanished, taking all his books with him, while Tsunade did the same with her alcohol bottles. Well, with the ones that weren't empty. Ha ha ha, die under the Uchiha clan's invincible eyes. Amaterasu. Meanwhile, deep inside the Uzumaki compound, a group of mostly women and one man was watching a huge screen floating in midair. Amaterasu. As soon as that word came out of the screen, everyone started laughing out loud. Ha ha ha, see, Naruto. I told you he would break if we replaced some of his finished documents with unfinished ones. Ha ha ha, okay, you were right, Nei-san. Needless to say, Sasuke didn't stay Hokage for much longer. Chapter 544, Taking a Walk. A rather unusual image could be seen in Konoha. Yuna was walking around the village holding a leash that was attached to a huge crimson-furred dog. While walking, one of her clan members approached her with curiosity brimming in his eyes. Yuna-sama, I didn't know you had a dog, you know. Yuna chuckled in amusement while shrugging her shoulders. I'm just taking care of this bitch as a favor. Bitch? Oh, so it's female. Can I pet her? Sure, she is well-tamed. The Uzumaki clansman eagerly crouched down and started petting the dog's head, but while doing so, he felt like something was off. Or rather, he felt like the dog fur didn't feel like fur. After a few seconds of pondering, he simply discarded the problem and, since the dog's tail was wagging, continued petting its head a little longer. Haha, thank you for letting me pet her, Yuna-sama. Hee hee, don't worry about it. After all, I'm also getting something out of it. The young man tilted his head in confusion before simply shrugging his shoulder. He was used to Yuna saying something incomprehensible. What's her name, you know? Oh, she's called Karen. Oh? Karen. The young man gave the dog another glance, but the dog's image was suddenly superimposed with Karen Uzumaki's, Yuna's maid. Is something wrong? Upon hearing Yuna's concerned voice, the young man came out of his shocked state and quickly rubbed his eyes and gave the dog another look. Just an average dog. Hee hee, sorry about that, it was a long day, and I must be tired. Yuna nodded her head in understanding and shooed her clansman away, ordering him to get some rest. While walking away, the young man had a wry smile on his face. Damn, I didn't think I was such a pervert. I actually imagined Karen to be in that position. MHH. Now that I think about it, why did I only pet the dog's head? How weird. Meanwhile, Yuna had a broad smile on her face as she saw the young man departing. Wow, that was close, wasn't it, Karen? It seems like the seal-based Jiu-Jitsu I put on you malfunctioned for a brief moment. I must have made a mistake while drawing at Tilda. Yes, the dog named Karen was, in fact, not a dog. Who would have thought? Currently, Karen was on her hand and knees, crawling through Konoha with dog feet-like attachments strapped to her hand and knees. A huge vibrating butt plug with a dog tail that would wag like a real dog's tail was firmly placed in her anus, while a huge vibrating dildo was constantly pistoning into her wet folds. Additionally, her butt was spanked crimson and would probably glow in the dark, while a clamp with weights was attached to her nipples and clit. And finally, a normal pair of fake dog ears was placed on her head. In conclusion, she was in pleasure hell. A sadistic grin appeared on Yuna's face as she squatted in front of Karen to be face-to-face with her. Tell me, what did it feel like to be seen like this by your fellow clansmen? What did it feel like when he pet your head? A tilde asterisk moan asterisk IIV never felt asterisk moan asterisk this humiliated BD asterisk moan asterisk before. When Yuna heard Karen's answer, she frowned deeply and snapped her fingers, causing two leather straps to descend on Karen's already red bottom, causing her to wail in a mixture of pain and pleasure. I don't think dogs are supposed to talk. At least not a normal little dog like you. So, what is your answer? As soon as Yuna asked that question, the spanking stopped, allowing Karen to regain her bearing. Well, considering how much vibrating equipment she wore, that was pretty much impossible. Woof, woof. Yuna smiled and ruffled her hair lightly as Karen started barking like a dog. Much better. Well then, let's go on a walk, shall we? Asterisk B bark asterisk asterisk moan asterisk. Just like that, the duo went on their walk. Look, Mommy, that woman is wearing dog ears. Don't point at people, dear. That's impolite. A shudder went through Karen's body due to what she had just heard. Did Yuna allow a child to see me like this? No way. Karen looked around in panic and noticed that a lot of people were staring at her. Why are we drawing so much attention? What is going on? Asterisk gulp asterisk H as Yuna deactivated the Genjutsu. Yuna noticed Karen's plight and chuckled in amusement while adjusting the dog ears she had put on her head. Yep, the reason the duo drew so much attention was that Yuna had put on a pair of dog ears. While the duo was walking, Karen felt herself getting closer and closer to an orgasm. Yuna had been keeping her on edge for quite a while now, constantly slowing down the pistoning and the vibrators when she got close, but this time she felt there was no way around it as she was coming from the shame of being walked through a crowd of people alone. Asterisk moan asterisk. She felt the start of an overwhelming orgasm wreck her body, but moments later, a seal above her cervix started glowing, resulting in her orgasm stopping instantly. In no way. Yuna chuckled in amusement and happily drank in Karen's despair. Bad Dawdy Tilda, there will be no orgasms until we are done with our walk in a few hours. Karen looked at Yuna in disbelief, tears streaming down her face, resulting in another sadistic grin from Yuna. She squatted down in front of her to even the eye level and started talking. Hee, and when we are back in the compound, I will remove that seal, resulting in all of those missed orgasms exploding at the same time, sending you to heaven. Fear covered Karen's face when she imagined that happening to her, but Yuna saw something else as well, making her smirk. And then, I'll grow myself 2 dicks and will start pounding your 2 holes, and I will not stop until I am satisfied no matter your condition. Karen lowered her head while her whole body was shaking, making Yuna smirk in glee. How is it, Karen? How is your reward for doing well during the war? Do you enjoy it? Another shudder went through Karen's body as she slowly lifted her head. Unlike the previous fearful expression, a deranged smile was on her face, and, most prominently, her irises had turned pink and became heart-shaped. It's the best, Tilda. Seeing Karen's new eyes, Yuna nodded in approval. There it is, the legendary Eragon. Oh, come on. Chapter 545, Yuna. Occupation, researcher. Don't you want to have sex? Kaguya asked Yuna that question while tilting her head in confusion, causing Yuna to chuckle. The duo was currently relaxing on a comfortable couch inside Yuna's living room while the rest of her harem was away on different missions. Kaguya probably assumed that Yuna would eat her up now that they were alone. I wonder tilde what about you, Kaguya? Kaguya pondered Yuna's question for a brief moment before shaking her head in denial. I don't want to have sex. Then, why did you even ask? My previous husband occasionally asked for it, so I thought that was just something humans do. Yuna couldn't help but chuckle in amusement about how sheltered Kaguya was. That isn't entirely wrong but not entirely right either. Out of curiosity, why don't you want to have sex? Except for bearing children, I see no point in it. Yuna could only sadly shake her head at that as she resumed talking. What about the pleasure? Pleasure? The first time was straight up painful, and the next few times weren't much better. Yuna shook her head yet again at that. I wonder if that guy simply was a bad lover, or can human cock just not satisfy an Otsutsuki woman? Should have dissected that angler guy to find out whether Otsutsuki men have some kind of exotic dick. I would rather not know that. Maybe they have hooks, or it is just one slimy tenter. ***. Geez, you are exaggerating, Kurama. After Yuna finished her short banter with Kurama, she hooked her arm around Kaguya's waist while the other one lightly lifted her chin. In that case, would you like me to show you the pleasure of sex? Kaguya held eye contact with Yuna for a while longer before simply nodding her head. If Yuna said sex could be enjoyable, she wanted to try it. So, a few minutes later, the duo found themselves in another room where a naked Kaguya was comfortably sprawled on a massage table. I don't mind a massage, but what has that to do with sex? Yuna chuckled in amusement as she rubbed her hands together to warm up the massage oil she had previously applied to them. Well, everything. For now, just relax and let me pamper you, Kaguya, dear. Okay, mommy tilde. Yuna smiled a little as Kaguya started talking in a more childish manner as soon as she relaxed. Initially, she used grandma, but recently she went for mommy instead, which apparently she thought to be more intimate. I wonder if this will translate into mother-daughter play later on, or maybe it will develop into something completely different. Just like the universe, the perversion is endlessly expanding. Just like the harem tilde. Right. With another small banter finished, Yuna's hands moved and slowly started roaming Kaguya's back, gently squeezing and rubbing her skin, nerves, and muscles. Fundamentally, massages are supposed to be pleasurable, but there are quite a few different ways to massage someone. Some variations can be genuinely painful at some points and have quite a few medical advantages, while others are solely done for pleasure with a minimal medical purpose. Naturally, Yuna was currently giving Kaguya the second variant as her hands gently brushed against Kaguya's skin, occasionally teasingly brushing against the side of her breasts. MHH tilde feels so good tilde. Yuna nodded in approval to Kaguya's reaction as her hands started roaming lower, moving away from Kaguya's shoulders while paying more attention to her lower back, gently brushing against her hips, making her wiggle around. That tickles, mommy tilde. Yuna hummed in acknowledgement as she stopped massaging for a short moment to place a fingernail just above Kaguya's butt and then lightly let it scratch all the way up her spine, causing her goosebumps. A tilde T that felt weird. Just a little punishment tilde. While Kaguya had question marks pop up above her head, Yuna's hands wandered further down, completely ignoring Kaguya's butt while focusing on her upper thighs. Punishment for what? For yesterday evening tilde, you know what she did. At first, Kaguya wanted to deny having done anything, but moments later, she realized what Yuna was hinting at, causing her to blush a little. Yuna noticed the blush and chuckled in amusement as her hands wandered further down, massaging Kaguya's calf and feet. Tell me what you did, and I might spare you further punishment, little Kaguya. Kaguya's blush intensified as Yuna started talking to her like she was a child. I walked past your room and heard some loud clapping and moaning, so I took a little peek. I'm sorry, Mommy. Yuna nodded in approval as she finished massaging Kaguya's legs and placed both of her hands on her butt. You know, this is the reason I skipped massaging your butt, because depending on your answer, I would have used different massage techniques. The soft one. Yuna gave both of Kaguya's butt cheeks a light smack, making them jiggle without doing any damage. Or the hard one. Yuna gave her right butt cheek a stronger slap, resulting in a small yolt from Kaguya. Well, since you were a good girl and confessed your crime, there is no need for that, is there? Kaguya couldn't help but wiggle her butt a little as Yuna started softly caressing it while occasionally giving it a few light slaps that didn't even turn her skin pink. Hee, thank you, Mommy Tilda. Yuna gently grasped her two cheeks and spread them apart, revealing Kaguya's rosebud. Yuna was hoping for an embarrassed reaction from Kaguya, but there was no such thing, disappointing Yuna a little. Well, what did you feel when you peeked on Miss Banking Karen? What did you feel down there? As Yuna said that, she gently reached around Kaguya's hip and allowed her fingers to brush over Kaguya's front entrance lightly. Surprisingly, Kaguya showed pretty much no reaction to getting touched. It seems like she isn't very sensitive down there. If I did that with another one of my girls, they would have at least twitched. Is she special in that regard, or is that an Utsutsuki thing? Is this an anatomy lesson? Well, I'm massaging her to find out her body structure and what feels pleasurable and what doesn't for her. I'm sure your motives are pure. No, just so no weirdos think nonsense like that, I want to make it very clear that the #1 priority here is fondling a beautiful woman. Science comes afterward. As I said, completely pure. Pure perversion, Tilda. Meanwhile, Kaguya thought about Yuna's question and came up with an answer. I felt a little tingle down there, but nothing much. Got it. If you were involved, what role would have preferred, mine, Karen's, or maybe you were perfectly fine with just watching? Yet again, Kaguya pondered Yuna's question while Yuna was still attacking her butt cheeks. While kneading them, Kaguya's butthole was revealed yet again, causing Yuna to smirk with mischief. I'm not sure. I definitely don't want to be in that maid's role. That looked painful. As for being the one to do the punishing, I could do that. As for watching, Before Kaguya could finish speaking, she cried in pleasure, causing Yuna to smirk. She had just poked her finger against Kaguya's anus. Anal sex it is. Good job, Sherlock. Elementary, Watson. Why did you touch me there? Well, does the term anal sex ring a bell? Anal sex. Although Kaguya had never heard the term, one did not need to be a genius to understand what it meant. That is possible. Of course it is. You are already feeling this good by me lightly poking it. What do you think actual penetration will feel like? Kaguya's eyes lit up when she heard Yuna's words. She couldn't help but agree with her words. She really wanted to try it out. Seems like you are eager to go, correct? Kaguya nodded her head, resulting in Yuna gently helping her stand up and guiding her to the bed. I want your head on the bed and your butt in the air. Nice, now spread your legs a further, perfect. Kaguya couldn't help but blush due to her current embarrassing and very revealing position. Despite that, she was still eagerly awaiting what Yuna would do. Who wouldn't want to experience something pleasurable? I think we both know what I want to hear from you, little Kaguya Tilda. Kaguya's blush got stronger, but she couldn't help but giggle simultaneously. Please teach me how anal sex works, Mommy Tilda. Of course, I'll teach you. I'll teach you a lot. Moan. Kaguya moaned loudly as her whole body shook just from Yuna inserting the first segment of her index finger into Kaguya's anus. Whistle. She is sensitive. Is every Otsutsuki woman like this? I can't wait to find out. Seriously, when have you turned into a researcher? When cute alien booty appeared in front of my eyes. Fair enough. Needless to say, Kaguya thoroughly learned the pleasures of the flesh that day as Yuna went through her research. Chapter 546, Infinitely Expanding. Currently, Yuna and Hinata were lazing around on a couch in their living room while looking at the scene in front of them in amusement. Opposite of them sat Naruto with a sheepish smile on his face, while Ino and Haku sat next to him, giving him a death glare. Additionally, there stood a third woman next to the couch. She had pale lavender eyes and light blonde hair that went all the way down to her waist. She had an awkward expression on her face, while her cheeks were slightly flushed. Yuna couldn't help but chuckle in amusement seeing the situation in front of her. Good job, Naruto, I'm proud of you. Naruto groaned and facepalmed when he heard Yuna's words. Somehow, this "I'm proud of you" sounded even more sincere than the one Yuna said on top of the Hokage mountain a few months ago. "Nei-san, that's not helping the situation." "Oh? What made you think I was trying to improve the situation?" Naruto could only facepalm when he heard Yuna's question. Naruto thought about what to do next for a short moment and decided to simply push onward. "Anyway, this is Shion, a priestess from the land of demons. Ino, Haku, and I were on a mission to protect her from someone aiming for her life. At the start, I found her very annoying, but after I got to know her a bit better and discovered why she was acting like that, I kinda grew to like her." Ino and Haku's glare intensified, causing Naruto to scratch his head. "I see. Since you aren't sure how to handle the situation, you came to me for advice. All right, first, let's solve the frame conditions. Shion, do you also like Naruto and are willing to become part of a harem to be with him?" Shion couldn't help but flinch when Yuna's gaze landed on her. Frankly, she was somewhat intimidated by Yuna. She glanced at Naruto and noticed him smiling at her, giving her some confidence. "Yes, I'll like Naruto, and I would like to join his harem." Despite gathering her resolve, she couldn't help but blush when using the word harem. Next, Yuna's eyes landed on Naruto, causing him to straighten his back. "What about you? If Ino and Haku are vehemently against this, what will you do?" Ino and Haku tensed when they heard Yuna's question, but Naruto answered without a single second of hesitation. "I will have to reject Shion for as long as these two are against it." Ino and Haku relaxed a little when they heard Naruto's words, but they quickly grew tense again when Yuna's gaze landed on them. "In that case, what about you two? Are you absolutely against this, or is there a chance?" The duo glanced at each other and sighed deeply. Both of them had already realized that there was a high chance of a third girl joining at some point. Yuna had simply influenced Naruto too much for him to see anything weird in having a harem. I'm not totally against it, but I'm not willing to just let her join willy-nilly. I agree with Ino. For now, she can join our little group, but I will only agree to let her join the harem after we get to know her better. If it appears that she would destroy our harmonious relationship, I'm strictly against her joining." Yuna nodded her head in understanding and directed her gaze towards Shion. "Well, there you have it. Any complaints?" Shion simply shook her head as a small smile appeared on her face. "No, I'm fine with that." Yuna nodded yet again and looked at Naruto. "There you go, easy peasy." Naruto could only smile wryly at Yuna's words. He never expected things to go this smooth because he didn't know that Ino and Haku had a surprisingly open stance. If he had known that, he could have prevented himself from getting quite a few glares from the duo. He leaned back on the couch, automatically snaking his arms around Ino and Haku's shoulders while sighing deeply. He sighed in relief due to getting out of the situation without much trouble while giving Ino and Haku a small kiss. "Thank you for putting up with my desires, you two. I love you. HMPH, you better be thankful." I love you too, you idiot. You better pamper us a lot, or we won't be satisfied. I love you as well, Naruto. Shion couldn't help but look a little jealous when she saw the trio happily cuddling together, but she knew that she shouldn't insert herself into that kind of situation yet. I can feel something strange about you. Do you have some kind of special ability? Suddenly, Yuna started talking to her, surprising her a little. She was even more surprised that Yuna could sniff out her unique ability. Yes, I have a special pair of eyes that allow me to see how someone will die. Weirdly enough, it didn't work on Naruto, Ino, and Haku. Yuna nodded in understanding before a small smile crept up on her face. Why don't you try using it on me? I'm rather curious, Tilda. Shion hesitated for a moment and then simply shrugged her shoulders. After all, what's the worst that could happen? Don't. She was just about to activate her eyes when a hand grasped hers, pulling her away. She stumbled and tried to hold on to something, flinging her arms around the first thing he could get a hold of. Moments later, she landed on something not too hard while her lips touched something soft. Oh, good going, Naruto. Very domineering. That man is dead. While Shion was falling, she latched onto Naruto, landed on his lap, and accidentally touched Naruto's lips with her own, resulting in her first kiss. So, Naruto currently had his arms locked around two women while another one was sitting on his lap, kissing him. When Shion realized what had just happened, her face flushed crimson, and she immediately stood up while hiding her face. Meanwhile, Naruto's face paled as two killing intents locked in on him. Naiu tilde. What was that, Naruto tilde? Sweat flowed down his back like a river as Ino and Haku glared at him. Shion wanted to use her ability on Nei-san, and I wanted to stop her. I swear I didn't plan to kiss her so soon. No matter how you look at it, I can't allow her to use that ability on Nei-san. Instead of answering, Ino and Haku only squinted their eyes, putting even more pressure on Naruto. Oh okay, look, I'm really sorry. Although it was an accident, I'm still partially responsible for not being careful, so how about we do that thing you wanted to try out, and we forget this happened? Instantly, the pressure in the room vanished as happy smiles appeared on the faces of Naruto's two girlfriends. We accept Tilda. Naturally, Naruto was surprised by the quick switch in mood and immediately realized what was happening. Ah, you tricked me. Hee hee, yip Tilda. Naruto's shoulders sagged in defeat before chuckling in amusement. The thing he offered them was a night where the duo took over the dominant role, which Naruto probably would have given them at some point in time either way, so he didn't mind taking this loss. As for what the duo had planned for the night, he couldn't help but get a little excited about it. Has a weird side of you awakened? Nah, but I can't help being curious about their plans. Oh, are you sure you won't regret it? Nah, Ino and Haku would never do something I don't want to do. I trust them. Fine, fine. I got it. Chapter 547, 3 Side Stories. Story 1, A New Dojutsu. A tense atmosphere reigned inside a living room of the Yamanaka residence as Naruto and Ino sat on a couch, and opposite them sat Inoichi, Ino's father, and Mika, her mother. Well, the atmosphere between Naruto and Inoichi was tense, while Ino and Mika seemingly were not even noticing anything wrong. Anyway, as soon as everyone was comfortable and tea was served, Ino hugged Naruto's arm with a happy expression on her face. Mom, Dad, I'm pregnant. As soon as these words left Ino's mouth, the air solidified. Cough. Inoichi coughed, resulting in some blood landing on the table and between the two couches as his whole body started shaking. I will kill you. I will kill you. I will kill you, Naruto. Inoichi's anger exploded as he flared his chakra with a mighty battle roar. His eyes turned crimson while the kanji meaning precious appeared in his left eye and the 1-4 daughter in his right. The Dodingan. Die. Kagutsuche. Naruto's body was engulfed in a crimson flame, burning to a crisp in an instant, killing him. When Ino saw that, she opened her eyes in shock and looked at her father in awe. "Whoa, I didn't know you were so strong, Daddy. I don't care about Naruto anymore. You are the coolest." Meanwhile, back in the real world, a frothing Inoicha was sprawled on the ground with a massive grin on his face. There was a slowly growing bump on the back of his head, and his wife stood beside him, menacingly holding a frying pan. Moments later, a massive grin appeared on Mika's face as the frying pan vanished. She immediately walked up to her daughter and hugged her. "Congratulations, dear. Have you two already discussed the name of the baby? If you have any questions, just come to me, and I will help you as good as possible." While Ino and her mother were hugging, Naruto glanced at Inoicha's body and clapped his hands together while lowering his head. Rest in peace, father-in-law. Story 2, The Hokage Mountain. The Hokage Mountain, Konoha's iconic mountain with the faces of all the Kage carved into it. Usually, all of Konoha's citizens were proud of this monument, but in recent years they felt kind of reluctant to look at it. Hashirama, Tobemaru, Hiruzen, Minada, Tsunade. When it was just these five, everything was still fine. All these people had stories behind them, and their feats were widely known in the shinobi world. The sixth Hokage, Sasuke Uchiha, apparently was a hero during the Fourth Shinobi War and someone who protected Konoha against Akatsuki, but somehow no one remembered him doing anything. Anyway, there are rumors that he quit the job after almost burning down the Hokage building, but most people dismissed that as mere rumors and would rather believe the rumor that he had some other problems that prevented him from doing his duties. On a side note, there were also some rumors that Sasuke would occasionally walk around while transformed into a woman, but most people dismissed these rumors as nonsense as well. Anyway, the seventh Hokage, Shikamaru Nara. Despite being known for his intelligence, few people saw him as proper Kage material due to his low strength, not even realizing that there was little purpose in assigning a strong person as a paper pusher. There were rumors that he got the position due to having an extremely powerful backer. Additionally, there were rumors that he had absolutely no interest in the position, but that was dismissed as nonsense by most. After all, if he doesn't want it, how did he get it in the first place? Anyway, one day he locked himself up for a week with the Nara clan's greatest minds, and after emerging from his seclusion, he executed a 47-step plan to ditch the position on someone else. Some murmur that one of the contingency plans could have resulted in Yuna becoming the new Hokage, but he vehemently denied that. The eighth Hokage, Hate Kakashi. Although well known, he couldn't exactly compete with characters like Hiruzen and Minada, so the situation still didn't feel right. Additionally, in the recent months, rumors appeared that Kakashi was already looking for a replacement due to problems with his mental health. Somehow, a 16-year-old Konohamaru was currently the top runner for the position, confusing many people. However, that wasn't even the worst part. So, do we just stop carving faces into the mountain, try to somehow squeeze the next face in there, or are we starting a new row underneath the first? The Hokage mountain was getting rather stuffy. There were frequent discussions in Konoha's top branches about what they were supposed to do when the next Kage was selected, and so far, there was no consensus. Story 3, Disciplining Your Descendant. It was a sunny day in Konoha, and today a rather interesting event was about to happen just above the Uzumaki clan. A man with white skin and eyes came floating down from the sky and hovered above the Uzumaki compound. "Hinata. I'm Tenario Tsutsuki, and I'm here to take you in as my wife." These words were boldly shouted, causing them to echo over the Uzumaki compound, making everyone who heard them tremble in fear. Someone dares to claim one of Yuna's women. He's tired of living, you know. This will be a blast to watch, you know. Surprisingly, the new arrival wasn't instantly blasted from the sky, and a black portal appeared behind him instead. Kaguya serenely floated out of the portal, her white hands gently grabbing the newly arrived person's shoulders. Teneri was surprised by someone suddenly grabbing him and wanted to slap away the two hands, but to his surprise, he couldn't move the hands at all. He turned his head to see who gripped him and immediately froze in place. Kaguya. As one of Kaguya's distant descendants, he naturally knew who that woman in front of him was, scaring the life out of him. Yuna said, "I'm responsible for the discipline of my descendants, so I'm afraid I have to punish you for your insolence." Before Teneri could understand what was going on, he was firmly placed over Kaguya's knees, with his arms and legs trapped in place by Kaguya's hair. Smack asterisk. A loud smack echoed over the Uzumaki compound as Kaguya's hand impacted Teneri's butt. Stop. What are you doing? Smack asterisk. Disciplining a naughty child. Kaguya was unbothered by Teneri's words and simply continued spanking away. Ha ha ha, as expected, we are in for an awesome show, you know. Oh wow, mid-air public spanking. Not something you see every day, you know. You mean to pull down his pants, you know. Kaguya heard someone giving some advice, and after pondering it for a moment, Kaguya remembered how Yuna had punished her maid before and realized that the advice was probably correct. So, without further ado, she decisively pulled down Teneri's pants and continued spanking away. What are you doing? Don't pull. Ow, down my pants. Kaguya realized that pulling down Teneri's pants seemed to have a satisfactory effect on the punishment, causing her to nod in approval. Yuna said that taking someone's advice is nothing shameful and can even improve the situation. Despite the person giving me a tip being much weaker than me, he gave me good advice. It seems like Yuna was correct, and I should listen to other people more frequently. So, the spanking continued under the hooting of the cheering Uzumaki clan and the wailing of Teneri. While everyone found the situation rather hilarious, there was a single person who had different thoughts while watching that scene. Ah, I'm so jealous, Tilda. As that person said that, their crimson eyes slowly turned pink while her irises gradually became heart-shaped. Chapter 548, Yuna Uzumaki. A few years later, Yuna was currently sitting in her audience chamber with a slightly annoyed expression. She was so close to breaking her 6-month record of not having to do any work, but just 3 days before succeeding, something came up that she had to attend personally. Karen, I'm a little annoyed that I have to work, so I'll punish you after this. Karen, who was dutifully standing behind Yuna, smirked as her eyes flashed pink for a short moment. I understand, Yuna-sama. I'm here to serve. In Karen's opinion, this was a win-win situation. Yuna could relieve her annoyance, and Karen could she could get punished, which she enjoyed. Moments later, there was a knock on the door, and after Yuna gave her permission, Karen activated a small seal which automatically opened it. A young boy that appeared to be around 6 years old with crimson hair and a single blue strand entered the room. Just like Yuna, he had whisker marks on his face, while his eyes were similar to Hinata's, allowing him to use the Byakugan. This was Yuna's first child with Hinata, Yuna Uzumaki. After Yuna entered the room, another person swiftly followed. He had black hair and brown eyes and wore the standard Konoha flak vest. While Yuna tried his best and failed to hide his expression, the second person to enter was clearly upset about something. He was just about to go through the usual ritual of greeting the head of a clan when Yuna waved his notion away. Don't bother with that stuffy nonsense. Since you are my child's teacher, there is no need to go through all the motions. Anyway, I heard that my cute little son has caused some mischief in the academy. As soon as Yuna finished speaking, Yuna lowered his head, almost making Yuna chuckle in amusement. Oh yeah, that boy is definitely guilty. Unaware of Yuna's thoughts, the teacher corrected the position of his glasses while straightening his back. Yes, he has frequently been pranking his teachers, primarily by smacking cakes in their faces. Due to his high status, we didn't dare to punish him, but things have gotten out of control, so I decided to plead to his mother to deal with this directly. A glint of pride flashed through Yuna's eyes that neither her son nor his teacher noticed as she hummed in acknowledgement. MHH, that sounds pretty bad and is definitely worthy of a punishment. So, what do you have to say in your defense, son? Yuno hesitated momentarily before putting on a severe face while looking his mother in the eyes. It wasn't me. Yep, he's lying, Tilda. Nonsense. All these pranks definitely involve seals, and no one else in the class is proficient with seals except for you. It has to be you, Yuno. Yuno was about to judge her son guilty, but when she heard those arguments, she got a rather interesting idea. MHH, although your arguments make sense, and they're a little flimsy, definitely involve seals, and it has to be you, aren't exactly compelling arguments. Surely you didn't come here without even a sliver of evidence, right? Yuno's teacher almost chirped when he heard Yuna's words. In fact, he had absolutely no evidence for his clients, which is another reason for coming here personally. Punishing the heir or the Uzumaki clan is one thing, but doing so without evidence is too great a risk for the academy to take. Seeing the teacher's reaction, Yuna shook her head. I will not punish my child without any evidence. I'm willing to cooperate as soon as you show me any evidence. For now, you are dismissed. The teacher opened his mouth before closing it again. There was nothing he could do, and he certainly didn't have the guts to talk back to Yuna, so all he could do was leave. While leaving, Yuna discreetly gave a signal to Karen, resulting in her activating some seals. Well, don't be a stranger, Yuno, come here. A happy smile appeared on Yuno's face due to his mother defending him from a teacher, so he immediately walked up to her and sat down on her lap, resulting in Yuna lightly hugging him while resting her chin on his head. So, did you play those pranks, Yuno? Yuno stiffened when he heard his mother questioning him once again. His first instinct was to deny it again, but he felt like that was something else I wanted to ask. Oh, the payment for the present I just received. Nado pouted when she heard Yuna's words. That has nothing to do with that. I just wanted to give you a present. Seeing her cute daughter pouting at her, Yuna couldn't help herself and pinch her cheeks, making her pout even harder, almost causing Yuna to laugh out loud. Now, I was just teasing you. Tell me what you want. Nado's pout vanished and was replaced with an eager expression. Uncle Zabuza offered to teach me swordsmanship, but he said he would only teach me if I had your permission. Can I please learn how to use a sword from Uncle Zabuza? Yuna couldn't help but be a little surprised that her daughter wanted to learn how to use a sword. After all, she was only 6, and from what Yuna could tell, she had a very peaceful personality. However, if that was what she wanted, Yuna wouldn't deny her desire. Obviously, she could teach her daughter swordsmanship as well, but Yuna wanted her children to find their own path. If she taught all of them how she fought, wouldn't that just result in a bunch of mediocre copies of herself? No, her children should find their own path. She would correct them if they did something wrong. If they asked her to teach them something, she would guide them, and through all of it, she will love them unconditionally. So, she gave the only answer she could in this kind of situation. Ask your mother. Nado's face deadpanned when she heard Yuna's answer. Mum, how long will you insist on making that jerk? Hee, until it stops being funny. It was never funny. Oh, sorry, let me correct my answer, until it stops being funny to me. And when will that be? Hee, who knows, Tilda? Considering I've been pulling the same joke with my children in my previous life, probably never. Poor children. Doomed to live a life filled with poor jokes and sexual innuendos.